right, it's good to be here. I haven't been to Charles T. Munger Hall in quite a few years. I just met Charles T. Munger. Last time was in November, and then before that was in July, and before that was in May. So there is a real person who is alive and well. And on January 1st, he will be 99 years old, still alive, doing well. And he has a granddaughter. He has many grandchildren. He has a granddaughter, Charlotte Munger. And I'm hoping next year Charlotte will come here to talk to you guys. She talks at 5 times the speed that I talk. And she talks very fast. And I told her that when she comes here, she should talk even faster, just so that you guys think some alien has landed. So anyway, good to be here. Why don't we go into Q&A? So who has the first question?
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. I am Vian Swami from JNV Bengaluru, Urban, Karnataka. My question to you is, who is Charles T. Munger? I heard that he is your inspiration. And what made you to invest in Dakshana?
All right. Looks like I already answered the question. But congratulations on being from Bangalore Urban. For so many years, there was a drought where no kid from the school was coming to the Center of Excellence. And I used to always get all this criticism that why are you not taking any kids from our school? So it's good to have you here. So thank you. And there's one more of your classmates here also from Bangalore Urban.
Yes, sir.
Where is he?
Sir.
Is he in the other section? थोड़ी देर में उनसे मुलाकात होगी.
He's in a leave.
I'm sorry?
He's in a leave.
He's on leave. Okay, no problem. So why did we name this place Charles T. Munger Hall? We named this place Charles T. Munger Hall so that it would cause you to ask the question, who is Charles T. Munger? And later when you go to IIT and freely आप God Google से बात कर सकते हो, तो आप God Google को पूछ सकते हो, God Google, कौन है Charles T. Munger? And God Google will give you a reply. But while we are waiting for God Google to reply you, I will give you my 2 cents on Charles T. Munger and why you might want to know who Charles T. Munger is. Like I mentioned, Charles T. Munger is going to be 99 years old in January. He was telling me recently when I met him that 99% of his friends are dead. And I said, Charlie, it's okay. You have some new ones, like me. So we will try to make up for all those dead friends. And Charlie Munger says a lot of jokes. So there was a guy named George Byrne. How many of you have heard of George Byrne? No one has heard of George Byrne. We'll get to George Byrne in a second. George Byrne was an American comedian who lived to be, I think, 103 years old, and then he passed away. And he was famous for smoking big cigars. So when he was 101 years old, he was smoking this cigar. Some person came to him and said, George Burns, what does your doctor think about your cigar smoking? He says, I don't know, my doctor's dead. किसी को joke समझ ही नहीं आया, अभी क्या करें? So anyway, eventually you might get some jokes. But so Charles Munger never got an undergraduate degree. But he was accepted at Harvard Law School, and he got a law degree from Harvard. And I think he was second in his class. And it's probably one of the only people that Harvard admitted without an undergraduate degree. So normally, if you go to IIM or something, you need to have some bachelor's degree. One of Charlie's professors wrote to the people at Harvard that they should accept him, and they agreed and they accepted him. And what makes Charlie unusual is a number of different traits. He's a hero of mine. But there was another great American called Ben Franklin. Some of you may have heard of Ben Franklin. How many of you heard of Ben Franklin? Raise your hand. Ben Franklin का भी नाम किसी ने सुना नहीं है. Ben Franklin was a founder of the United States of America. So he was the guy who invented the lightning rod, bifocal glasses. कुछ दो चार जिन्होंने सुना है Ben Franklin, he discovered electricity and the kite experiment and so on. I forgot why I brought up Ben Franklin because you guys took me on a detour when you guys said you didn't know who Ben Franklin was. Why did I bring up Ben Franklin? Anyway, it'll come to me. Oh yeah, so the reason I brought up Ben Franklin is Ben Franklin has many great quotes, many great sayings. One of his sayings is, many people die at 25, but they are not buried till they are 75. What does he mean by that statement? कि 25 में मर गए, लेकिन जनाजा नहीं निकला till they were 75. What does that mean? What did Ben Franklin mean by that? What he meant by that is that from the age of 26 to 75, it was a living corpse. And what he meant by that is that what happens with a lot of humans is that they stop learning when they finish school. And that's probably one of the worst things you can do in terms of your development. So when Franklin says that many people die at 25 and are buried at 75, it means that at 25, they stop growing and stop learning. And so what happens with a lot of people who go to IIT or a lot of elite institutions, they don't go very far in life, even though they did really well academically. And the reason they don't go very far in life is because they are not learning machines. They have just learned what they knew in school, and then they stop learning. Charlie Munger has been a learning machine throughout his life. So I think Charlie reads around 500 books a year. And I think he's been reading 500 books a year for probably 75 years or more, maybe 80 years. तो अगर 80 साल के लिए आप 500 books पढ़ रहे हो, that's 40,000 books. And he has, so I think the thing with Charlie Munger is that he is a very high IQ person. There are lots of people who are very high IQ people who die at 25. So having a high IQ doesn't mean much if you don't feed the brain, right? So there are 2 or 3 things that make Charlie unusual. One of the things that makes him unusual is that he has spent his life coming up with what he calls mental models. And when you know these mental models, what happens is that you get a big advantage in life. And especially when you start applying multiple mental models overlaid on each other, then you get a big advantage versus other humans. So I'll give you an example. So what I would say is, so here's the thing that's going on with Charlie. Very high horsepower, which a lot of people have. Doesn't mean much. Read a lot and took in a lot of data, which gave him some advantage. Again, I don't think that by itself is, there's a lot of people who read a lot. But the third most important thing is the mental models. So here's the thing about, so I'll give you some mental models. One of Charlie's mental models is that if you hang out with people better than you become better. Yes, sure. If you hang out with people worse than, it's okay, I'll take it. If you hang out with people worse than you'll become worse. So Charlie is interested in becoming better. So what he has done is that when he encounters low quality human beings, there are lots of low quality human beings around, he, as quickly as possible, tries to minimize the time with them. Now, let me put it to you in this way. Let's say you have a friend. Let's say he's your best friend. And let's say the best friend has some shortcomings and like he lies sometimes or cheats sometimes, something like that. But you like him a lot, right? Would you give up your best friend? And so if you follow the Munger mental models, it's a no-brainer. That best friend is history. And what happens with humans is they know these models, but they think this one I can skip. I like this guy. I will apply other models. So they'll try to take a shortcut. And that will pull you down. So that's one model, right? Hang out people with better than you versus worse than you. Another model, for example, is the model of cloning or copying. So a lot of smart people have already figured out a lot of great things. We don't need to reinvent everything. And so being humble and seeing that you see something someone has done that is great and just copy it will give you a huge advantage in life. So Dakshana is a cloned model. It is above my pay grade and above my IQ to come up with such a model. Somebody already came up with the model. हमने just टोपा लगा दिया है, right? So long live Anand Kumar. He came up with this model. I saw the model. I told him, listen, you are running Super 30. Let's make it Super 300. And I'll write you a check and we can help more kids. He said, I don't even want to go to Super 31. I want to stick to Super 30. And I don't want any outside money. I want to just do it the way I'm doing it. So I don't want any changes to the program. So I said, okay, do you have a problem if I clone your model? And he said, ये तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है. हम आपकी सहायता करेंगे cloning में. So I said, all right, that's good. The guy has no problem with my cloning. And I already understood from Charlie Munger that cloning is powerful, right? So I said, model already चल रहा है. हम model का टोपा लगाते हैं. देखते हैं क्या होता है. Now the thing is that when I took the model from him, there was one piece that was missing, which I didn't know how we're going to solve that problem, which comes to the next mental model. And that problem was that when Anand Kumar announces that there's going to be a selection test for Super 30, 10,000 people come to take the test. And from 10,000, he can easily pick 30 kids, right? It's easy to get 30 kids and 28 will go to IIT, no problem. If Mohnish Pabrai announces in 2007 there's some selection test from some unknown Dakshana, who will come? Nobody will come. So I said, अभी cloning तो हम करेंगे, टोपा तो लगाएंगे, लेकिन how will we find the kids? I didn't know how we would find the kids. But I also knew another model, which is that when you start a business, you don't know all the answers. You figure out the answers as you go along. So the first thing I did is I hired a guy who was our first CEO, and I said, listen, you go to Kota and you go to all the coaching institutes and you tell them that, listen, if anyone takes your test and they clear your test, and at that time I did not understand how Kota works, but that's okay. When they clear your test and they tell you that they cannot pay, they're too poor, you call this idiot in America who will pay that person's fees, because this idiot in America wants to pay his fees. So next day we got a call from Bansal. There is a family crying in my office. Please pay their fees. We went and paid their fees. We didn't even really put a lot of effort into understanding whether the kid is smart or not. I said, we just asked him, I said, did he clear your test? They said, he has cleared our test, but they have no money. So we paid. So Shashank Dubey became our first Dakshana scholar. And I didn't know head or tail about whether Shashank Dubey is smart or not or what. Now actually he's doing IIM, he's at IIM Calcutta doing his MBA. He's done well, but he didn't get to IIT, but he did okay. And then कुछ दिन बाद दूसरा कॉल आ गया, हमने उसका भी पे कर दिया, फिर तीसरा कॉल आ गया, वो भी पे कर दिया. तो ऐसे 5-6 दक्षिणा स्कॉलर्स आ गए हमारे पास. And I told the guy we had, Ramesh Patija, that you move to Kota. So you can tell all the coaching institutes that there is some rich idiot in America who will pay the fees of anyone who cannot pay. And make sure all the coaching institutes know they can call us and we will give the money and they can have more students. So he moved to Kota. And I think we had 6, 7 scholars like this. And I had no idea. What I learned later is that Kota is accepting 90% kids who will never make it to IIT, right? The kids they are telling us to pay the fees for, I don't think any of them made it to IIT. But that doesn't matter. In business, all you have to do is you become a little better tomorrow than yesterday. So there's another thing in business, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? एक बार तो उल्लू बना लोगे, दूसरी बार थोड़ी उल्लू बना दोगे. एक बार उल्लू बनने का, we are very happy to do that. So then this guy is meeting all these different coaching institutes saying we'll pay the fees and all this. One of the guys says, you should go talk to JNV people. So he didn't understand what this person is saying. Never heard of JNV, whatever. Then after another meeting, someone else said, so he said, ये क्या JNV क्या बात कर रहे हैं? So he found out there's some school system like JNV and all that. Headquarters is in Delhi. So he talked to me. I said, yeah, you go meet them. We don't know what NVS is. We don't know what JNV is. We have no idea. But we are Vela. We have no problem. So the guy goes to Delhi. And JNV at that time in 2007, they had a problem. The problem they had is they knew, and those guys who were running NVS at that time, they knew that the kids are very bright. And they knew that 12th ke baad koi future nahi hai. And they cannot go to IIT and this and that. And what Ramesh was saying to them, because he understood about how the JNV was doing selection and all that, that we can set up 7, 8 campuses and we can select kids from across the JNV system, best kids, and we'll provide the coaching. So they could not, they wanted to provide JE coaching, but JNV system could not pay those salaries to the JE faculty. So they knew that if some private guy is going to do that, that can work, right? Because it's not coming from them. So that's how we got going with the JNV system. Then we had no faculty. We don't know how to coach people for JE or anything. So we went to coaching institutes and said, aap de do faculty. And they again took us for a ride. They took our money and they sent useless faculty. You know how they normally do it. But that's okay. That's also fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. So eventually our own alums became our faculty and we went from there. So the other thing about the model, so we cloned the model. We understand the fool me once, fool me twice. We understand that as you go on the journey, more and more answers will come out. And we will figure things out as we go along. And here you are. Okay. So the mental models, there are many mental models. Probably Charlie has about 30 or 40 mental models. And when you run your mind with mental models, it works very fast and it becomes really quick. So that we don't have time to go through all the mental models today. But what you can do when you go to IIT, not immediately, maybe third year, just go to God Google, Charlie Munger, mental models. God Google aapko sare mental model de dega. And that's the easy part. The difficult part is adopting those models. And the most difficult part is synthesizing them so very quickly you can apply 6 of them at the same time. Because when the mental models kind of overlay on top of each other, then you get a huge advantage against other humans. Because then they really cannot compete with you, and because they are not thinking like that. So that can give you an advantage. So anyway, when you go to IIT and you're in your third year, there's a book called Poor Charlie's Almanac. You should buy this book. I try to reread this book every year, and I think it's better than a 4-year college degree. I think reading the book is better than going to IIT, in my opinion. Anyway, so we settled the question about who Charlie Munger is. Why don't we go to the next question?
Good afternoon, sir. I am Akshay Sharma from JNV Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh. And my question to you is it always right to fix a goal in early age of life? Can't we proceed without fixing a goal and move in the direction where life will lead us?
I think it's hard, in my opinion, it's hard to go through life without a goal. I think that's difficult. The good news, or maybe bad news for all of you, is that you have some goal already. Now, it may or may not be the right goal for you. That's a separate question. But at least right now, from what I can tell, is you have a goal. And so, from what I understand, your goal currently is you want to try to get to IIT, maybe you want to try to get to a particular campus, you want to get to a particular major. I believe that would be most of your goals today. Is that correct for most of you?
Yes, sir.
And I think it's difficult to set your mind to doing something unless you have some goal. And I remember that one of our alums, some of you guys might know him, Ashok Kumar. So Ashok, I think, got ranked 63 in the JE. So, you know, at the different JNVs we run our program, we always used to get complaints that the PT in the morning is wasting time because you have to do so much prep and all that. The PT is taking precious time. And when Ashok was going through the program, I don't know what the rules in Bangalore are, but in some JNVs they gave our scholars an exemption from PT. Do you have to do PT? Okay, so some JNVs they gave exception, others they have kept the PT. When Ashok was there, the PT was there. But what he used to do is that before he went for PT, there was a problem he was working on. There was some problem that he could not crack. He spent the whole PT thinking about that problem. And if he's standing in line for lunch, there's another problem he's thinking about. So there was no time that Ashok had that was not being used. And he didn't really care what activities were forced upon him. There's some line for lunch, it doesn't matter. And then at that time when he went for the JE in 2010, he was sent back to their home JNVs, which is not happening with you guys. So he thought he would forget everything because there was like so many weeks of gap between the ending of the coaching and the JE exam. So what he did was he solved every past JE paper twice for 30 years. So just literally went through every day about 8 hours or something, taking all the different past JE papers and going back and seeing what he couldn't solve and all that. And I would say, I think Ashok had some very specific goals, and he did not particularly care about what was being put in front of him in terms of obstacles. He just took it the way it was and just kept going. And every time I meet Ashok, he's saying, "Sir, I'm waiting for somebody to break the 63, but they are not breaking it." I said, "I know, kya bataएं? They don't make them like you anymore, Ashok. So hopefully one of you will beat his record. What do you say?"
Yes, sir.
All right, because I think last time the highest rank was like 500 or something that Dakshana got. So we were very far away from 63. But hopefully that will change. Next question.
I am Dasavar Ravi from JNV Nizamabad, Telangana. And my question to you is, how to be emotionally controlled while staying 2 years in COE without visiting our homes?
Okay, that's a great question. So there's another book maybe you should read after IIT that you may enjoy, and that is called No Two Alike. This is by Judith Harris. So basically what Judith writes in that book is that who we are as people is determined by basically three things. Number one, our genetics, what we inherit. Number two, what happens in the first 5 years of life. And number three, who our friends and peers are. These are the three determinants that will basically drive who you become as a person. And what Judith found is that the role a parent plays in shaping who we are is very little. So humans are very heavily molded by our peers. We are not really molded by our parents. We get our genes from our parents. But and I think for all of you, especially because you've been in a boarding situation since you were 12 years old, for all of you it's actually probably more so than even other kids. because your interaction with your parents is much more limited versus most other kids. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you were living at home from the age of 12 to 18, for example, your parents would not be able to have much impact on you. So the good news is that you know that you are molded by your peers. You also know Charlie's mental model of hanging out with people better than you or worse than you. So you have control over who your peers and friends are, and therefore you have some control over how you turn out. So you should actively be looking to have the closest friends you have being better than you, and that'll be a huge positive. Now, this does not address the question you asked, which is that you're missing your parents, right? Which is a little bit of a different situation than influence of the parents. The Buddha said that the key to happiness is the elimination of desire, right? So the greater our desires, the greater the degree of unhappiness. So, Abhi, if you can be under a bodhi tree and just sit there, you will be very happy. And you know, वो कहते हैं ना गालिब, हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर एक ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, and something like that, right? So basically, you cannot have hazaron ख्वाहिशें. And the root of the misery that comes from missing your parents is from the desire to be with them. And Buddha already said there's no point having desires. So the good news is your parents can't do much for you. Your peers can do a lot from you. You are with a great set of peers. Parents, abhi yaar, 17, 18, we don't need the parents anymore, quite frankly. Abhi hum bacche nahi rahe. So enjoy with your friends, and 2 years is a short time. It will go by quickly. You have great friends. Now what happened in COVID, you know what used to happen before COVID is kids will say, mera stomach dukh raha hai, main school nahi ja sakta. Abhi after COVID, even with stomach pain, they want to go to school because they don't want to be with the parents. Were you with the parents during COVID? Do you want to go back to that life? Exactly. Parents are useless. Don't tell them that. Okay? But कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है बॉस. अपने दोस्तों के साथ मजे लो and desires कम कर दो. And life will become happier. Sorry for this prescription, but it's not me. I'm just telling you what Buddha said. So you got to blame Buddha. You can't blame me. Next question.
Hello sir, good afternoon. I am Sivanavadeep from JNV Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. And my question to you is, how was your performance in your school days? From whom you got inspired and motivated? And what are the things that you have followed? And what are the ideas that you have followed to become successful in your life? Thank you.
All right, that's a great question. My performance in school was useless. Abhi kahan se shuru kare? So I will give you some data points which will maybe hopefully be helpful to you. I remember, I think I was in 3rd grade in Mumbai, not in a good school, just an okay school, probably below average school. My parents were not wealthy or anything at that time. I remember there was a report card, and at that time they would rank the kids. And I remember there were like 60 students in the class. And I remember my rank was 57 out of 60. Okay. And I also remember age 3rd grade, you can remember about 8 years old or something. I remember that it was a big classroom with these 60 kids. I was somewhere in the back. And I very clearly remember that I had no idea what is going on in the class. I remember kuch bol raha tha koi, kuch kar raha tha, but I had no idea what is going on. And I had very low self-esteem. And I assumed that कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो बहुत होशियार होते हैं और कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो बहुत बेवकूफ़ होते हैं. I thought I was part of the बेवकूफ़ category. I said, it's okay. Whatever life has dealt you, you just live with that. So I just assumed from that what was going on that I'm a below average guy and I'm a below average student. And I was continuously below average until 8th standard. 8th standard, I was in a school in Delhi, which was probably the best school I went to, the Air Force School in Delhi. Those kids were really smart. Half the kids were kids whose parents were Air Force officers. They were flying fighter jets, all of that. They had some outside people come and they conducted an IQ test for all the kids in the school. And when I got the result of my IQ test, my score was the highest in my class. मैं तो like चौंक गया कि कभी भी टॉप नहीं किया किसी चीज में, ऐसे ये टॉप कहाँ से आ गया. Later I discovered not only was it the highest in my class, it was the highest in the school. It was a perfect score actually on the IQ test. So anyway, so I was a very quiet, low self-esteem kid. So I quietly went to these two people who had come to conduct a test. And I asked them, what does this mean? So they were just packing up and all that. They said, oh, you're very bright. You did really well. You did the best in the whole school. We very rarely see kids like you. I said, all my tests, everything, the scores are so low. So packing kar raha hai, oh, you are not applying yourself. If you apply yourself, everything will be fine. And wo bhol ke wo chala gaya, right? So sometimes in life, someone has to only say one sentence to you. So now you guys have not seen a movie called Seabiscuit. I'm sure you have not seen the movie called Seabiscuit. Let me write this down for you. You might actually enjoy this movie. So this is not a book. Seabiscuit is the real story of a horse who lived in 1930 in the US. And it's a great movie to see. And this horse is like a small horse. He's a race horse, but he doesn't look like a race horse. He looks small and broken down and all that. And he became the most winning horse in horse racing. Like he just blew out everybody. But there was a trick. There was a trick to making Seabiscuit win the races. So what they had to do, that when he was racing the horses, is they had to bring him level with any horse, like going neck to neck with any horse, so that he could see the next horse with his eyes, directly see the horse running next to neck. And the jockey had to hold him back so he didn't go ahead of that horse. Just keep him there with that other horse for about 20 seconds. And then turn him loose. And after that, he would just take off and blow out all the horses in the field. But you had to do that. If you didn't do that, it wouldn't happen. Okay, so anyway, so what I felt happened to me when that guy made that statement was that it's something like Seabiscuit, in the sense that suddenly someone tells you that you are not below average and that you might actually be above average, and you might even be above average, right? So what happened is that right after that IQ test, there were 40 people in the class. My rank used to be like 27 or something. I had improved a little bit. From 57 out of 60, I was 27 out of 40. Within a few months, I was like 18 out of 40. And then by the time in 9th grade, I was probably 13th, 12th, 13th. And then I finished 10th grade, probably was in the top 10. And then by the time I finished 12th standard, I was 3rd in my class. But basically and then after that, when I went to college, I topped. And basically, in many ways, it has continued after that, because I look at a lot of people who were like people I worked with in my 20s and 30s and so on, and I don't see them next to me. They are back somewhere, right? And part of that is the learning machine, right? Die at 25 and be buried at 75. You do that and you'll be back somewhere. Doesn't matter how good you were in school. So basically, the thing is that sometimes somebody just says a small sentence to you, and that makes all the difference. And so I think you just have to act on things that you think will make a difference, and take it from there. Hopefully you found the session useful. I know it's a short session. At least you've connected a little bit about who Ben Franklin is. By the way, people think Charlie Munger is Ben Franklin reincarnated for a number of reasons. And it's hard for me to go into all that Charlie Munger is. But I think when you study him, you will enjoy learning more about him.
Hello sir, good afternoon. I am Karthik Kumar from JNV Haridwar, Uttarakhand. And my question to you is, why did you spend your money for science stream only? not for commerce and art stream? And what did you expect from Dakshana scholars?
All right, that's a great question. So basically, the idea behind Dakshana was that I grew up in India with seeing a lot of poverty around me. Probably not, I didn't see as much poverty as you guys have seen. So Dakshana's main objective has been poverty alleviation. And so we wanted to basically have a sure shot way to basically lift income levels and standard of living and so on. So in many ways, Dakshana is a business. We don't have a profit motive, we're not trying to make money, but we care about what goes in and what comes out. And I didn't believe that if we were to provide coaching to arts or commerce students, I was a commerce student, that we could have a significant lift in their incomes. So if you think about it in kind of the following way, sliding boards है ना आपके, ये मेरा idea था. Just want to let you know, the board is there because I forced them to do it. And they had a lot of problems making the boards work, but I kept pushing them, and eventually we got these great boards working, so it's awesome. And I didn't actually come up with the idea of these boards. I actually saw these boards when I used to go to some courses at Harvard, and I said, oh, this boards going up and down is a lot of fun, so we should do that. So basically, the thing is that what happens is that if you go to IIT, even if you don't do so well, you have a 5 point something GPA or something, very high probabilities of having some job. Because generally speaking, the schools have a good reputation, and there's so many, so when employers are looking to hire people, they want shortcuts. So they just go to good universities, good schools, and they say, let's just hire from there. Even though they may find good people other places, they focus on that. So if we get people to IIT, we know that income will be much higher than if they went to some third-tier college or something. And the thing with the IITs is that the IITs are very heavily subsidized by the government. So even though it appears to many of you that the fees for IITs are high and all of that, the equivalent education at most places around the world would cost something, it would cost more than 3 crores. If the government did not put any money into the IITs and it was completely private funded, it would cost about 3 to 4 crores outside India. Probably in India, even if you cut it down, I don't think you can get it down to less than 2 crores per student over 4 years. Maybe about 50 to 75 lakhs a year is what it would cost. And instead of the 3 crores, the IITs are costing something like, even if you don't have a category waiver and all of that, it's costing probably less than 15 to 20 lakhs over the 4 years. And most of this you can get loans and grants. So for the most part, to go to IITs is almost free, okay? But to get into the IITs is very hard, right? So what all that Dakshana has done, so if you look at, now let's look at the other system here, which is, let's say, the JNV system. Okay, so JNV system, let's say there are 600 schools, and so 560 students per school, right? So let's take a round number, 500 times 600. There's 30,000 students here, okay? So there's 30,000 students in the JNV system. And do we know how much the budget of a JNV is? Like one of your home JNVs, what is the total amount the government spends, including teacher salaries and food and everything? No idea? ये तो आपको पता चलना चाहिए. अभी जैसे, like I just met your principal, the food cost is 2,000 per student per month. Okay, so basically, if you look at 30,000 students times 24,000, let's say 30,000 times, let's say 10 months, so 20,000. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, right? So it's 600 million rupees, which is about 60 crores. Is that correct? Yeah, so 60 crores, which is, actually that might be low, because the thing is 60 crores, that means each school is spending, is that correct, less than a crore? Let me just see, if one school is 20,000, and if there are how many kids? If there are 500 kids, so that's 100,000, 10 lakhs, 1 crore, right? So this should actually be 600 crores, sorry. For 600 schools, it's 600 crores. So basically, I would think that the cost to run a JNV is approximately at least 6-7 crores, including all the teacher salaries and all of that. So, agar aap 7 crores lagate ho times 600 schools, that's 4,200 crores. Okay? The IITs, if we have 50,000 students in IITs over 4 years, let's say they're admitting 12,000 a year. So 4 years is 50,000. And let's say we said it's about 50 lakhs, right? And it's 50,000 students. So it's 25,000 crores over the 4 years. Okay, or divide that by 4, it's about 6,000 crores per year. So basically the IIT system and the JNV system approximately cost the same. Okay, they both cost, let's say, round numbers, about 5,000 crores each. So this system is there, which is 5,000 crores. This system is there, which is 5,000 crores per year. This is also 5,000 crores per year. And basically, if you look at the bridge over here, this is Dakshana. I know what Dakshana costs, right? So Dakshana is about 20 crores. It's about 20 to 25 crores per year. So why did we choose to focus on engineering and science? The reason we chose to focus on engineering and science is some idiot, also known as the Indian government, is spending 10,000 crores on the two systems, and I spend 25 crores, and I get both the systems to work for us, right? The two systems are not connected, and we are able to connect the two systems. So the connector does not cost much. But if the 5,000 crores is not spent over here, or the 5,000 crores is not spent over here, then we don't get the end result. And so the reason why you do so well after you finish from IIT is because 10,000 crores per year is being spent on you for that system to produce the output. And because that system costs 10,000 crores, it produces amazing output that people in the world are willing to pay a lot of money to access that output, right? And so our job, my job of poverty alleviation works because of these two systems. I am not aware of any such system in the arts world or the commerce world which would give me anywhere close to these results. It doesn't exist. My ex-wife, her brother wanted to study commerce. He wanted, after like 11th and 12th, he wanted to go into commerce and then join some BCom program. So his mother said to him, commerce karne ke baad kya kele bechega, right? And I used to always tell her that he could have been the CEO of Chiquita Bananas. Chiquita Bananas is the largest seller of bananas in the world. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. I said, he could have sold kelas and been so wealthy. Why did you make him an engineer? What's wrong with selling kelas? It's okay to sell kelas. Just become the biggest kela seller in the world, okay? So anyway, most of you guys don't get half my jokes, but that's okay. So anyway, we have these systems, and it's really the fact that those two systems exist. If the IIT system didn't exist, if we had to send everyone to private colleges after finishing, it'd be too expensive. The fees and all would be just too expensive. We couldn't do it. And the government does such a heavy subsidy on the IITs. On top of that, I asked Dakshana to prepare a document to give to all of you, which is all the options for scholarships and grants and loans. They are working on that document. Currently, it is 96 pages long in terms of all the different options available to you for other people who will fund you for the little bit that the government is not covering, okay? So that's why we don't want to do arts and science, even though I was trying to become a kela seller myself. Next question.
I am Luka Bagra from JNV Siang, Arunachal Pradesh. And my question to you is, why haven't you established any Dakshana center in the Northeast region? Thank you.
All right. Welcome to Bengaluru. Is it better than AP? Or is AP better than Bengaluru? Maybe you can give him the mic for a second.
It's good.
Which is good, this or that?
So both are good.
Both are good. Are you going to go back to AP?
Yes, obviously, after 2 years.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Well, so please have a seat. We used to have a center in the Northeast back in the day in Assam. And we closed that center because we had a very hard time staffing it with good faculty. And at that time, I think this was in 2007, 2008, we were doing regional selections. So we had centers in each of the regions, and they picked scholars from that region, and they only kept them in that region. And we realized that was suboptimal because the IITs are doing national selections, and we need to do national selections so that we can pick the best of JNV and get them to IIT. And things have improved a lot more since then because we are able to select nationally. So I think that I don't think it matters that much. It matters somewhat, but I think that we could probably do a center in a large urban area in the Northeast, like Guwahati or so on. We could do that. And if the JNV system gave us a JNV which could accommodate and do that, then we'd be interested in doing that. The problem that we've had with most of the JNVs that we operate in is that they were never designed for Dakshana to operate there. They were designed for just the 560 kids from 6th to 12th grade. So if we suddenly show up in a school, even if we put just 80 kids in the school, it's a burden because they don't have the classrooms. Sometimes the music room becomes our classroom. Sometimes the multi-purpose room becomes our classroom. They don't have the dorm space, so they have to move the commerce section or move the art section or something. So we have made it work in some locations, but ideally what would have happened is we would have infrastructure like this in each region. And we did get agreement from the JNVs to create centers of excellence like this at multiple places, but then nothing happened. And we kept trying and trying, we're still trying, and because we need more centers, and it would be good for everyone, but so far that has not happened. Also, part of the reason is that, again, it's a significant burden on the schools. So even if you look at the Bangalore school, it has added 240 more kids, which is almost 50% more than their capacity, which is quite a bit. So it adds a lot of administrative burdens on the school. Next question.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. I'm Munawat Akash from JNV Warangal, Telangana. My question is, why did you choose only JNV for giving IIT coaching? Why not for the other children who do not study in JNV?
All right, that's a great question. So let's complete the graph. Now that you asked the question, we can complete the graph because the graph was incomplete. So the engine that feeds the JNV system is the JNV ST, right? So all of you took the JNV ST in 5th standard, and I think 30 lakh kids take this test every year. I don't know if that number has gone up. Is 30 lakhs the correct number, or has it gone higher? Higher? 40 lakhs? 50? Pardon? 40 lakhs? All right. Let's change this to 40 lakhs so we have the correct number. So 40 lakh kids take the test for 30,000 seats. So the selection is less than 1%, right? And people always get surprised as how come Dakshana gets 70% scholars into IIT when IIT is only admitting like 1% out of all the JEE test takers. The reason is that there's a 2-level filter going on. So the first filter that happens here that we are not involved with takes, if there are 40 lakh kids, this goes down to 30,000. Then we take these 30,000 and we test 5,000 of them, okay? And from this 5,000, we get like 400, okay? So the 400 is originally coming from 40 lakhs. So it's 1 out of 10,000, right? So basically, Dakshana is basically picking 1 out of 10,000. Shame on us. We should get 100% to IIT, right? Abhi random 1.3 million people are taking the JEE and 13,000 are getting to IIT, 1%. If we have this 2-level filter, we should get more than 70%. But we are so useless, we don't get 100%. Because आप लोग are not working hard enough. Will you work harder? Yes, sir. Are you going to try to give me 100% result? Yes, sir. Because इतना 1 out of 10,000 filter करके आपको यहाँ लाए हैं हम. 9,999 for every seat you are taking, 9,999 are chucky pea sewing outside. Okay, can you make it worthwhile for them for the chucky pea sewing so that you can at least do something for them? And the other thing is that since you are the 1 in 10,000, we are banking on you to build the country. मेरे को question आता है, when will India be known as a developed country? And my answer is, when these 1 in 10,000 do their job. Are you going to do your job? Okay, we are banking on you. That's why we are limited to the JNV system, because this is a magnet school system that allows us now. We also have started going to other government schools now at Dakshana Valley. And now those are not filtered, right? We don't have the first level filter that happened there. And we test such a large number of kids, and such a small number come to Dakshana Valley because we don't have the 2-level filter. So it becomes much harder. So if we go to random schools in Chhattisgarh run by the government, which are not magnet schools, just general government schools, बुरी हालत है, क्या बताएं? And उसमें से अगर हम छांट-बीन कर रहे हैं, so good luck to us. But we are still trying to do that, because we want to find all the diamonds in the rough and try to do the best we can. So next question.
Hello sir, good afternoon. I am Sanjama from JNV East Coming, Arunachal Pradesh. And my question to you is, you are giving a lot of expensive facilities to us for free of cost. What do you gain after this?
All right, that's a great question. A lot of people ask me, angle क्या है? ये सब चीज़ का angle क्या है? You know, people in India always want to know what is going on. What is the angle? The answer is, there is no angle. It is all a circle. But anyway, you don't get my jokes, but it's okay. So the reason I'm doing this is because I have no choice. So what happens is that when some of you will become really rich, maybe more than some of you, many of you will become very rich. And when you die, you will discover you cannot even take a pin with you. I know it may come as a surprise to you, but you can't take anything with you. You came naked and you're going to leave naked. So whatever is here has to be left here. And when you leave it here, there are only 2 choices you have. You can either leave it to your family members, your gene pool, or you can somehow recycle it back to society. And it's a bad idea to leave it to your family members, because especially if it's a large amount of money, वो तो कुछ करेंगे ही नहीं. IV drip लगा दिया आपने. They will be fat, dumb and happy, and they'll never accomplish anything in life, right? And the fun in life is to actually have a journey that is worth accomplishing something with. So if I had planned to give everything to my gene pool, which is my daughters, etc., both of whom don't want the money, they want to have their own journey, then it would just create distortions that is not helpful. So the only thing I could do was to recycle back to society. And if we're going to recycle back to society, might as well recycle in a way that is somewhat optimized. So there are many ways to recycle back to society, and all of them have some merit. So for example, you could feed people outside temples or mosques, and that is a good thing to do because those people are hungry. You can also pay for Dakshana scholars. And my thinking was, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So जो मंदिर के बाहर बैठे हैं, I would rather find some way where they can be taught something where they don't need to be sitting outside the mandir anymore. So that's what we're trying to do here. And next question.
Hello sir, good afternoon. I am Syam Hasda from JNV East Simbhum, Jharkhand. My question to you is, why did you choose to help the society through educating the next generation, unlike other richest person?
Unlike what?
Other richest person. They are other richest person, successful people.
वो तो मैंने अभी आपको बताया है कि कोई choice ही नहीं थी. So I did not really have much choice in the matter. I wanted to do something when I still had energy. Please have a seat. So if I waited till I was an old man, then the only thing I can do is write a check to some mandir, right? And mandir already has too many checks. They don't need one more check from me. So we wanted to do something more intelligent than writing checks to a mandir. And so here we are. Next question.
Hello, sir. Good evening. I am Aryan Chaudhary from JNV Tapi, Gujarat. And my question to you is, which field, according to you, is best for a student who likes maths, like me?
Which field is the best? Okay, have a seat. I also like math, by the way. You might find that a lot of people here like math, which is good. I think you can apply math in many different fields and areas. I think what you should do when you go to IIT is try to sample a lot of different areas of applied math. And even after IIT, you should look at many different areas that math is so ubiquitous in so many different areas. It's like you would need to try on different gloves. And you would need to find out which glove fits the best. So you may find that you want to teach math. You may find you want to apply math. You may find that you want to do other things where math is not central but is still used. So I think it's a personal journey. So the important thing is sample a lot of things and see what appeals to you and see what doesn't appeal to you. How much more time do we have, Ravi? We have? Okay. So let's continue. Next question.
Sir, my name is Pratik Das. I am from JNV Baleshwar, Odisha. Sir, my question to you is that what is your life experience after becoming a billionaire and how you learned from Warren Buffett and other people and applied in your life?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So I may be a billionaire in rupees, but not in dollars, but that's okay. So I think that the best way to learn is to learn from the eminent dead. There are a lot of eminent dead people. Some people died a long time ago, like Buddha or Krishna and so on. And some have died more recently, like Franklin and so on. And in my case, two of the guys that I've tried to learn from, Charles T. Munger and Warren Buffett, they're both still alive. One is 92, that's Warren Buffett, and the other is he's going to be 99 on January 1st. So make sure you celebrate Charlie's birthday well on January 1st. It's coming up in 9 days. He'll be 99 years old in 9 days and going strong. So that's good. So I think the eminent dead are great to learn from. So if you were to pick someone like Ben Franklin, one time when I had lunch with Warren Buffett, he said that, I asked Warren Buffett, if you could have lunch with anyone living or dead, who would you like to have lunch with? So he said, I want to have lunch with Sophia Loren. Now, most of you, have you heard of Sophia Loren? Yes or no? Abhi Sophia Loren, matlab Deepika Padukone. She is a very hot Italian film star. You can sometime look her up on Google. She looks good. Okay, so Buffett is saying, I want to have lunch with this hot film star. Then he said, no, scratch that answer. I want to have lunch with Ben Franklin. So I said, no, actually, no, not Ben Franklin. He said, I want to have lunch with Isaac Newton. So I said, why do you want to have lunch with Isaac Newton? He said Franklin was the wisest, but Newton was the smartest. So Newton not only came up with the laws of physics and so on, he came up with calculus. Some of you may not like calculus so much, but you can blame Newton for that. And Newton was a very smart man. And what happened to Newton is that there was a speculative bubble known as the South Sea bubble, where a lot of people put a lot of money because these companies were going up in price a lot. And Newton understood that this is all stupid, but in the end he put his money in there too. And then he lost all his money. So Buffett said, I want to meet Newton because he's the smartest person. And he also made this stupid mistake when someone like him should be beyond all that. And part of that has to do with human psychology. So anyway, Franklin, I think it's worth studying Ben Franklin because Ben Franklin was very wise. And I think there's a lot to learn from Franklin. Franklin has some great quotes. He says, after 3 days, fish and guests both stink. मतलब 3 दिन के बाद mehman has overstayed their welcome. If you ever are a guest with someone, don't stay more than 3 days. And then he has another quote. He says, keep your eyes wide open before you get married and half shut after you get married. And like another quote, I don't know if I told you guys, but I told the other class, most people are dead at 25 and they are not buried till they are 75 because basically they stop growing and learning. And an empty sack cannot stand up straight. And early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. This is the JNV philosophy, lifted straight from Franklin, even though you guys don't like to go to bed early, but that's okay. This was a fun session with all of you. I really had a good time, and it was great doing the session, watching Charles Munger's bust right behind me, which was wonderful. And I know you guys have a tough job ahead, but I know that you are up to the challenge. And 62 rank, will one of you at least get to 62 rank? Okay, we'll see. Don't let me down, okay? All right, I think it's picture time now. Let's go take some pictures. All right.